And welcome into another edition of A Closer Look. I am your host, Dwayne Nelson. With me is State Representative David Hauck, and you represent the 5th District of Tennessee, correct?
Yes, sir, I certainly do, which comprises roughly 95% of Greene County. So the overwhelming majority of Greene County is in my district.
And then some of that goes into Unicoi, I guess.
Historically, I'd had Unicoi County, and going up through South Central and Lamar and that area,
Right.
Washington County touched on some of those areas. But as of redistricting, my district now is in Greene County. So that's where
We're glad to have you here.
Thank you,
Absolutely. You have served your constituents for how long?
I was elected November of 2002. And it's hard to believe it's been that long, but I've just finished up my 15th year of service. Have been elected and re-elected 8 times, and it's certainly an honor to be able to serve. Plan to run for re-election and look forward to continuing some good work for the Northeast Tennessee area.
Now, you serve on several committees, and those being?
I serve on our Agricultural Committee, Agricultural and Natural Resources, which was a combination of what used to be our Conservation and Environment Committee and the Agricultural Committee. We've brought those two committees together. Northeast Tennessee agriculture is still one of the leading industries, if not the leading industry. You've still got a lot of folks that farm, and it brings a lot of money into our economy in Northeast Tennessee. I also serve on our Finance Committee and our Budget Subcommittee in the House as well. And Budget Subcommittee, I'm one of 12 who really get their hands around the budget and try to figure out all the good, bad, and ugly of that budget as we deal with it on a yearly basis.
Now, you've got a session coming up in January as you all kick back into the General Assembly again. What are some of the big things that you will be looking at as a whole this January?
Well, there's always numerous issues that will come up. One of the biggest issues, as I mentioned, the work on the Budget Subcommittee, is the budget document. This past year, we spent months formulating and working on a $37 billion budget, which we're in right now, which funds our priorities as a state. We look at those $37 billion and decide, all right, this is where we feel we need to place a priority. We always place priorities on education. Education is always a buzzword in Nashville, as well as within local governments, local school boards, local county commissions, and city councils as well. That's one of the largest funding areas of our state budget. So we try to make sure that our needs are met. There are numerous wants, but we try to meet our needs with the limited financial resources that we've had. And we've been able to substantially increase the level of funding that we've put toward education. Teacher salaries are higher than they've ever been in the state of Tennessee. We're putting more and more emphasis on reading, especially when and before a child gets to 3rd grade. My younger daughter is in 1st grade now, and just seeing the amazing work that she's doing as a 1st grader. I'm 10 years removed from having a 1st grader. My older daughter is now a senior in high school,
Right.
And my younger daughter, what she's doing in 1st grade, my older daughter did in 2nd grade. So just a decade, we're advanced about a grade level quicker than we were before. So those are always some priorities there. There's some public service issues that we'll be working on as well as the year comes up.
Now, as far as pay raises and that sort of thing for state employees, is it going to be tougher this year around to give them that pay increase?
Well, we always look at the budget and see where we are at any point in time. We've had some substantial over-collections, truthfully, over-collections of taxes over the last 2 years. We're in a 3rd year of really taking in more taxes than we've got budgeted. So we've decided to give some substantial raises to state employees. A 1% pay raise for a state employee across the board equals $50 million. So we've got to weigh that with All right, what is the surplus? What do we need to have in our rainy day fund? But also, how do we say thank you and stay competitive and retain our state employees? There are private sector positions that are always looking to hire the best and the brightest out of state government. So we've got to try to maintain that level of customer service that our constituents expect from our state employees at all levels: human services, children's services, mental health, intellectual developmental disabilities, just on down the line. We've got to maintain a high quality workforce, and we've got to be competitive in a wage to do that. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that we're able to give some state employee raises this year. State employees have been some of my greatest supporters over my 15 years of service, and I look forward to continuing the work with those folks in the years to come.
Now, when Tennessee got into the lottery business, so to speak, that has actually helped in the school situation and allowing folks to go back to school and get an education.
The Tennessee lottery, when it was enacted, and actually it was voted in on a constitutional amendment in November 2002 when I was elected. It came in at the same time, so we were looking to formulate the lottery and the spending part of the lottery in my first 2 years in service. And we were very frugal as we went about creating the spending plan for those lottery proceeds. And actually the first year of lottery proceeds toward education, which specifically, as the constitutional amendment read, those lottery proceeds go toward higher education first. So higher education scholarships. Then after that, if there's any excess, they could go toward pre-K, preschool programs, or capital improvements to our locals. So it doesn't go to local K through 12 education, classroom education. It can only go toward building funds and things like that. But we were very frugal in our first year of setting up the lottery proceeds. We banked that first year of dollars, and it was $250 million. It was well over $200 million going toward $250 million that we banked. And looking 13, 14 years to the future now, that was one of the wisest moves that we could have made, because now we're living off the interest, and the interest on that original $250 million is paying for some of these adult scholarships that we're having, where Tennesseans can reconnect with higher education. The community college grants, the free community college that we've put forth now. It's important to note that there's zero general fund, zero taxpayer dollars that go toward the community college scholarships that we set up. It's all being done with interest. So we've been very smart in how we've set that up. Our technology centers that we've got across Tennessee, technology education is also available for both our rising high school students as well as our adult learners who want to go back to get that technology degree. So we've done some really good work in higher education in the last decade.
Talk a little bit about I know you voted in favor of the free community college education for adults, and that has really allowed a lot of adults to go back and further themselves.
It really has. We're going to set up a system where if an individual wants to better themselves in their work, in their job, and see that a higher education degree is a way to do that they can go back and get that degree without having that greatest impediment, which is financial.
Right.
The financial constraints that go with having to pay for that education. Once again, I have to reiterate that this is being done with no taxpayer dollars. There's some other states around the country who would love to be in our situation, and they call us in Tennessee, say, how in the world did you do that? I said, well, we were smart 13 years ago. I'll go across the country talking to legislative colleagues, and they want to know how you did that. And so we're the envy of a lot of different folks. But yes, voted in favor of that, and it gives the working adults, folks who may have a little bit of college under their belt, gives them an opportunity to say, I can do this. I can go back and get that higher education degree, and there's not going to be the impediment of finances. Life happens to all of us, and there's some folks that through their schedule it's difficult to go back. But our community college, Northeast State and Walter State, which is in our region, they are well equipped to work in evening classes and try to work in with some of the adults as they're trying to work as well as go back to school. So trying to create schedules that will create success for our adult learners. So very big supporter of that, and it's going to do great things for Tennessee.
And unlike the federal government, Tennessee does have to balance its budget, right?
Constitution says we must balance our budget. And not only that, in years gone by, some General Assemblies have used non-recurring money to balance out recurring expenses. We've stopped doing that for a large part in Tennessee as well. So not only do we balance our budget, but we also match up recurring revenues with recurring expenses, to where if we're going to have a program that's set up, we're going to have a reliable funding source in place for many years to come. So we're not going to take a pool of money that just happens one time and go fund ongoing expenses. Right. So we're trying to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars in that regard as well.
All right. We'll have more with State Republican, Greene County State Republican Representative David Hawk when we return on A Closer Look.